It's endearing.
Thank you. Hi, friends. Um, Hello, it is Meredith. I'm trying to put my. Amy, will you mute yourself for now? Because I can't figure out how to mute you right now. Hi. Because we have to start with problems. So it is so cold in Chicago today. I can't even tell you how cold it is. It's cold. But maybe that will make my brain work better. Today we're going to talk with Amy Schiff. So Amy is a neurovocal teacher, and she called me, or she emailed me, I don't know, a month ago-ish, and she said, so I have a pop student. I'm going to let her tell you the story. But what she presented to me was the issue that a lot of us have when we are teaching singers of popular styles. So I'm not going to go into why it's important that a singer of popular styles has a student-led lesson every single time. I'm not going to go into that because that's a subject for another day. So let us just assume that when we are teaching students of popular styles, or sometimes even contemporary music theater, also probably another discussion, we want to let them be the leader because the values are very different between stage singing like opera or oratorios or even choral singing and microphone-based styles. So we know that has to be different. We know it probably should be a student-led thing. We know that they may probably will be the ones to pick their music because they know what they're interested in. We know all these things. But then there's that person. And as Amy and I were talking before, I will introduce you to Amy in a moment. But as we were talking before we went live here, we have these people, and I have them all the time because they are people who are already good. So they're coming to you with a particular problem. Now, if someone who's already good is coming to you with a particular problem with their singing, right, with their actual voice, that's one thing. Fine. But a lot of times their voices are already good. They already know how to use them. So then what do you do? And that's what we're going to talk about today. I am Meredith Colby. I am the author of Money Notes. I don't have my little thing today to pull up, but I am the author of Money Notes, How to Sing High, Loud, Healthy, and Forever, which introduces Neuro-Vocal, a way to teach singing for popular styles that is based on brain science. If you would like to join me in any Neuro-Vocal training classes, they are available through my website, meredithcolby.com. Over there it is, meredithcolby.com. I have online training. I have workshops from time to time, and I offer teacher training. Currently, I have two available. One that is a class that's almost full because the classes are very small. I only let 12 people into each class. So there's only two spaces left in the one that starts in February, but I'd love to have you come and join us. And then also I am starting one in April. So if you can't do the February one, maybe you can do the April one, and you can join us and for Neuro-Vocal Method certified teacher training. Let's try that again. Neuro-Vocal teacher training so that you can be a certified Neuro-Vocal teacher. There we go. Again, all the information is at meredithcolby.com. Is that all I have to say? I think that's all I have to say. Usually I have a freebie. I can give you a freebie. I tell you what, when you join my mailing list, you'll get my freebie because it comes to you as part of the mailing list anyway. So join my mailing list and you will get the freebie today, which is the appropriate freebie, which is the Your Studio Mic Setup 2022. And if you aren't sure how to do that, just drop a note in the comments, or on YouTube, you can also put a note in the comments, and then I can send you a link and you can get that download, Your Studio Mic Setup. And it's a really nice little thing. And I just did a video for it this morning. So there's even a video instruction. You're going to love it. So today we're going to welcome Amy Schiff. And I'm going to introduce her and then I'm going to let her talk to you. Amy has been in the world of music theater her whole life as a performer and then as a pianist and as a music director. She began teaching voice while she was in graduate school at NYU in the vocal music theater as a vocal music theater major. There we go. She soon realized that she loved teaching more than performing. She's been teaching voice lessons and music directing children's theater for decades in beautiful Westchester, New York. And I'd like to welcome Amy. Hello, Amy.
Hello.
Wait, I'm going to flip you over. There we go. So I'm under my own logo. Because they should be under my own logo. So, Amy, tell your story.
All right. So, yes, I grew up in musical theater, but a soprano in musical theater. So not the belty big voice type, but the Oklahoma soprano type. So, as it entered the 90s and Rent became popular, I was at a loss already as a student who could not sing that style. And all my teachers were on more the classical side also. So I've just been kind of figuring it out myself. And so Neuro-Vocal was a huge help for me in solidifying things I kind of had figured out, but now I understand why it works and what happens. Normally when I have a kid who comes in to lesson, I teach mostly middle school and high school age students. Normally when I have a kid who comes in who's just natural big sound, I go, okay, great, you sound wonderful. Let's work on your all other voice too. Let's work on your soprano. Let's work on your mixing. And usually there's plenty of material to do that, and they're happy to do that and have a wider range. But now that I've been sort of embracing pop styles more, I am way less familiar with the with the genre and a style for myself. And so I've let the kids bring to me what they want. And so a girl came in who I didn't know before, and she's wonderful and she's sweet, 12-year-old, and she was into pop music, and we warmed up and she was fine. She sounded great. And then she started singing, I think it was like Somewhere Only We Go. So like a pretty simple, nice pop song. And she sounded great. And I was like, oh, okay, fabulous. And then I was like, maybe let's get something a little harder. And then she picked something a little harder. And then she like introduced me to singers I've never heard of and can't spell. Like, and that one had kind of a bluesy, cool riff in it. And she like heard it twice and then she did it. And she was great at that. And I was like, all right, let's okay, next week, great. Let's find something really hard we can dig into. So weeks went by and she brought in Never Enough from The Greatest Showman, which is a little bit more in my side of things, but a song I would never give anyone because it's bananas and very high, very, very strong belting with the veins coming out of your neck kind of singing. Anyway, she sounded amazing on it. And I was kind of very impressed. And again, I was like, she was very happy because I was able to say, this is very special that you are able to do this kind of song. This is not an easy song and you sound wonderful. And so I felt good that I was giving her the confidence that maybe she didn't realize how good she was. So that was wonderful. Then the next week she said, oh, my voice it's a little tired this week. And I was like, okay, great. Let's pick a little easier song. And she brought in Demi Lovato. I think it's called Stone Cold. Not an easier song.
No.
And goes up to a high A.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that one goes up north of F sharp.
As well as belting to like an E regularly. And then she did that on like a, quote, tired throat. And I was like, I don't know what to tell her. She's fabulous. And I don't know. Where do you go from there? So that's when I Meredith.
You're like, you're awesome. Get out of here. Bye.
Pretty much. Yeah,
you don't need me.
She's a kid. And I can say, well, that's great. What do you want to work on? And she's like, she says my range. I'm like, you have as wide a range as anybody does. Like, anyway, so she's lovely and amazing. And she's like 12.
Since she's 12.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she signed up to continue voice lessons. So she's happy with me affirming that she's good.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So far.
So she's Okay, so here she is in your studio, and part of you is like, you're already great. Why are you in lessons, right? And but there is the piece that this is the thing I'm good at, right? So I want support in that, and I want guidance in this thing that I'm good at already.
Right. And she doesn't know about breathing, and she doesn't know about these things. So I know that there's things I can teach her, but in terms of making her pop stuff even better,
Right, right,
it's
right.
my first.
Yeah. So, question. So, you are more comfortable with music theater, as many voice professionals are more comfortable with music theater. And music theater has, I mean, for 50 years now, has been very pop-y. And more since the turn of the century, it's gotten really poppy. So, I'm guessing that since you work with you work with a theater company, correct?
Yes. So I work privately. I teach in students' homes in the area, and I teach at ARC Stages in Pleasantville. So I get to musical direct a very wide variety of shows, which is wonderful. We do a lot of Sondheim. We did In the Heights a few years ago. Like we're all over the place. We don't do the ones that they're doing at high school and every
Right.
the ones that are getting done over and over again. So I love that. And yes, I have been dealing with a lot of different styles. But again, like either kids were naturally good at it or they weren't, and they probably weren't going to suddenly wake up and be able to do the other voice. Like it took me years later to even sort of, mix strong enough that I felt like I could do that style.
Huh.
So yeah, that's always been my thing was teaching mixing.
Okay. Okay. So just stay in
That's
that the sort
yeah.
of theater mentality, but teach them to mix so that they can.
Right, right. Like so people would say, belting is always the term theater people are always going to say. But so what is a healthy belt, and is it really a mix that's strong that has sort of an edge to it? So I've always been kind of figuring it out by trial and error on everybody's voice and my own voice because that was not taught to me, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
by my operatic
Imagine.
tutor. Yeah.
Imagine that. Will you do me a favor with these kids at your theater company in
Yeah,
Pleasantville, New York? Will
sure.
you, like, as their music director, will you not use the word belt around them at all?
I
And
know.
make them
I
use
try
the
not
word.
to, but it's a
Just say
theater thing.
mix. Yeah, but don't. Because it really limits them. It doesn't limit everyone, right? So the kid your 12-year-old, our 12-year-old in question, you could call it anything and she would still sound great. But there's a percentage of kids, we don't know what that percentage is, who are hearing the word belt over and over again. And it's literally impeding their ability to sing that one
I
word.
Yeah. I always referred to belt as a thing that has a big break. So you're loud, 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 have a break, maybe you have a nice head voice above that. So to me, the belt was the muscle too strong that you're not letting it get up to the next register part of your voice. So yeah, I try not to use that term, but to me, that's what my association always was
Right. And
with it.
so, okay, I'm glad you said that because that's exactly the issue with the word belt is that we don't agree on what it means.
Right.
I mean, we voice professionals, different people have different ideas of what it means, and kids, Lord knows, they hear, a 12-year-old hears Idina Menzel, and they're like, "Oh, that's amazing! I want to sing like that." And you're like, "You're 12," but they
Yeah.
don't, but they don't know that, you know. So yeah. Anyway, that was I was urging you, but really, I'm urging anyone who might possibly be listening to this because I want people to feel all up in their mojo. I don't want them to feel like they're limited because of the word belt. Okay, so Amy, you've had thoughts. You were going to share with me your thoughts.
um, which
Okay,
I have lots of thoughts
about
about.
well. Okay, so first of all, so the question is, what can we teach someone who is already good? And you already answered the beginning part of that, which is they might be naturally good, but first of all, if they learn a few tools, like what are my options with breathing? So with popular styles, it's not just there's a way to breathe, right? Because we're not trying to get that flow phonation necessarily. In popular styles, there are ways to breathe, but she doesn't know that. She may not even know how breathing works because she's 12. Because why
And their
should
core
she?
teacher said the word diaphragm once and didn't explain it.
Right, exactly. So there's that, right? We can look at some of the things that will be empowering to her as a singer when either she needs that information or that knowledge, or that to be able to apply a certain thing, like here's a way to take a bigger breath, for instance, or if all is not well, right? I'm in the middle of a song and my microphone drops out. My little, right? What do I do? So things like that, we can teach them some technical things. And there's always that, which you mentioned. And also, I want to move on to some other things too. Although maybe so I'm sorry. I'm just wondering because if we look at those kinds of things, maybe like what are those things? What are those things a singer needs to know? A kid who's naturally good, or an adult who's naturally good. Most people who come to me for pop stuff are coming to me either because of stamina issues or their break. They want to be able to mix better. Beyond that, what is there?
Yeah, the style, riffing, those are things they're
Well, I mean, in
interested in.
terms of, I guess I'm thinking more in terms of, we will get to that. I think we should get to
Okay.
that because I think you're absolutely right. But I'm thinking more in terms of technical stuff, things they would need to know about their voice. Something that is leaping to my mind right now is that even somebody who is a natural blender, if they have been coughing or they have some kind of inflammation, laryngitis or something, they may run into a break situation. So then what do? That could be something that you could teach them about how to not only understand their registers, but how to work with the registers rather than always mixing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing.
Yeah, I've definitely embraced that more since taking your course. That's okay. Like let that be breathy, then let that be something else, and like so that's fun for them to do too. I'm like, no, just suddenly pull back and have a different voice here. Like that'll sound amazing.
Yeah.
So that's been something fun to do.
Yeah. Okay. So that's stuff. Okay. So let's move on. Let's just say we clicked that box of technical stuff. What about that, Miss Music Director?
Yes, that I here's my question about that actually. I know how to teach performance for an audition or for a Broadway musical theater scenario, but I don't know how to explain the difference in emoting when it is a pop style as opposed to a Broadway style.
You mean beyond making the face? Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you're singing a love song in a theater in a theatrical situation, you're either singing to the person or you're singing about them, and yeah, I don't know how to explain that when it's a pop song rather than a theater song.
Okay, so good. That's good. I love that you said that because
Okay.
that was your music director talking. And that was your college educated singer talking. Because that's what we do. And when I say we, I'm including myself. We go, "Oh, how can I tell you what to do?" But with pop styles, it's more about helping them find the way they want to do it. Right? So like if you watch somebody, I don't know, I'm thinking of some diva like Celine Dion. I feel so sad about Celine. I was watching a video of her and she's very she uses her arms and she does face and she right? She does all this. She's very she was very expressive with her body and her face. And then there are people like, "Oh, hi Louise." I would like to tell you, Amy, that Louise Singley says, can I just say both you ladies have contagious smiles? Aside from the fact that you're speaking my language, you look radiant. Thank you, Louise. So, and then there's like Billie Eilish, who is pretty much like this all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
She does very little facial expression, very little movement with her body. She's just very like her energy is really internal. And I feel like they're sort of good examples of this ends of the spectrum. You know, there would be somebody like Beyonce who maybe isn't so facially expressive, but uses her body a lot. So there are different ways to find your performance style.
Interesting. Yeah.
In popular styles. And I think that since you have, I would say it's fair to say that you have a vast vocabulary of performance styles, and you also are more sensitive to it in terms of noticing it in singers than other people might be, because you're a music director, right? We got a thumbs up for that. You're more sensitive to that. That you might be able to help somebody experiment and see how they feel.
Yeah, I like doing
Help
that.
them move. Okay, I have a story. It was a friend of mine. So I never sang in the mirror. Because I was embarrassed. I thought it was weird. I would practice in the mirror sometimes, but I would never perform in a mirror. And a friend of mine was having an opportunity to tour with a national band, and they wanted her. They loved her look. They loved everything about her. After her audition, the guy said, you know what, I really like you a lot, but I need you to go home and sing in front of a mirror for a week and then come back. Literally. He could tell, the guy who was casting could tell that she hadn't watched herself perform. So I think a lot of times we need to give our students that permission. This is not only is this okay, this is really important. Singing's a performance art. You need to know what you look like.
Mm-hmm.
And are
Yeah.
you communicating what you mean to be communicating with your performance skills?
There are, since I teach a lot of tweens and teenagers, they literally run from a mirror. So that will be especially challenging for
Exactly.
some of them, yes.
Okay, so the mirror is one option, video is another. They're very comfortable with video. So what if we set up a tripod, did a video of them performing, and then looked at it together? What do you like about what you're doing? Where are you expressing yourself accurately? And where do you look, that kind of thing. We also know, most of us teachers, voice teachers, know that when a singer, I'm very small. I wish I was bigger right now. But when our singers create a large physical movement, right? They put their arms all the way out, for instance. It looks great on stage. And it feels super weird to them inside their bodies. So helping them understand that, like the way it feels, isn't necessarily the way it looks. From both the too small end and too big end, I mean, it's not necessarily, those are subjective terms. It might not be too big or too small for an individual, right? But helping them understand those things, I think, can be really powerful. And like I like to say to us voice pros, nobody else is going to do it, Amy. If she doesn't do it with you, it ain't going to happen.
Right, right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Except the occasional person. So there's some food for thought about that. Then, introduction to genres. When you listen to people who are talking, who sing sort of surprising genres, like some of the singers who sing for Postmodern Jukebox, for instance, and you go like, wait, you were born after the year 2000 and you sound like Doris Day. What's going on?
Yeah, I love that.
Right. I love it too. And they'll say, well, I listened to this, or my parents listened to this, and I was exposed to it. A lot of our students don't get exposed.
Yeah.
And you're comfortable with music. Are you thinking to yourself, but I don't want to?
No, I absolutely do that. I bring any of them I think will be willing. I bring like American songbook type old standards, and some of them were Broadway anyway, but yeah, I definitely like teaching them things like Blue Skies is one of my favorite songs to do in lessons, and like they've never heard that song.
Right. Oh, you got a heart for that. Blue Skies is a great song. Okay, so American Songbook. There
Mhm.
are other American songbooks. So soon. Most of the genres that we understand as being popular styles are born from this country. And they were not all born from, Tin Pan Alley songwriters in New York in the 1940s. Hi, Kathy Glickman, who is loving this interview. So there are other things, right? Like, if you wanted to do it with your whole studio, you could, because that makes it more of a studio thing and less of a I'm talking to an individual. But like, what if one semester or 3 months or however you do your studio was all about Motown? That's a really cool genre. There are hundreds and hundreds of songs. It's very American, right? What if it was Philly soul or classic country or contemporary country or other American genres? Come on, or 70s R&B. Oh, my friend Eden Castile just did a thing with her students or her clients where they did a 70s showcase.
Nice.
Yeah, 70s songs. Right? That's not really a genre, but it's fun, right? It's fun. And if everybody is doing it, then nobody feels weird about it. Alternatively, you can find a contemporary singer who they like who is doing a cover of an old song. That also makes it okay. I got a lot of mileage out of the TV show Glee. I just have to say.
Oh yeah, definitely.
In terms of introducing new genres.
Absolutely.
So there's a thought. We have to go through
Mhm.
this. Okay. There's a thought. Here's another thought, which you brought up earlier. Styling skills. Styling skills can be very self-directed for the student. So this person, your student liked Demi Lovato?
She named like 10 singers, and that was one of the few I had actually heard of. Like I am not on top of the who the 12
Okay.
girls listening to.
So this student didn't necessarily need styling skills. She basically could copy anything she heard. Bless her heart.
Yeah. And like I can point out vocal fry, like maybe she didn't notice that was what she was doing, but she was doing it like just because it was there. That's how you sound. So I'm, pointing out things she's already doing right, so she knows. One of my favorite things, like just range wise, is sometimes kids will get psyched out of the note at the end of the song, and I'll be like, that note was earlier in the song, and you sang it no problem. You just psyched yourself out because it's later in the song. So things like that, where like I get to point out facts.
Okay, fabulous. Then I'm going to go right to the last idea that I had, because this was like I thought about these ideas because I knew we were going to talk today. Musicianship.
Yeah.
So the musicianship can be relevant to the kind of music that they are interested in. You don't have to be. So a lot of people are very interested in teaching, solfege and being able to sight read music and la la la. If a person is going to go into music theater or jazz or one of the more sort of collective types of music in terms of the people involved are generally more musically visually educated, right? So they understand the visual end of music. Then it's really important for them to have these ideas, like to be exposed to this. Like, look, here's your note on the tab. Here's the last note that you thought was hard, and here's the note at the end of the bridge that was easy as pie, right? And that's just beginning musicianship for a 12-year-old, obviously. Well, that's not obvious. Some 12-year-olds have been playing piano for 5 years. So no, not necessarily. But this idea of musicianship, if they are interested in that kind of music, I feel like it's almost our obligation to get them into those abilities as soon as we can. If they are somebody who is a singer-songwriter and they're strumming a guitar, they're probably never going to use those visual skills, right? They're going to look at lyric sheets with chords over the top.
Mm.
So, but that also involves musicianship skills. Because then they have to know about what a chord is and why melodies and chords go together. And they can learn about bass lines, like why is that important? They don't need the fancy term of harmonic movement, but they can understand that they are already aware of harmonic movement and that they are already using harmonic movement, especially somebody like your kid who knows how to riff. That kid already knows pentatonic scales and harmonic movement. So why would that be all that much different than alerting her to that thing you're doing is called a vocal fry? The way that you're breathing here is going to be great for a short phrase, and then we need to do this for a long phrase. It's really not that different.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So musicianship that is relevant to the thing they're going to go into. Now, you're a pianist and a vocalist, so you are aware that it is often much easier to focus on these musicianship skills when you have your hands on an instrument and you have written music in front of you. It's just all those support mechanisms help you understand how music works, right? The math of music, if you will. It's harder with just singing.
Right. Yeah, no, I do try to do ear training, and that helps with just knowing the intervals and things like that. So that's definitely been helpful.
Right. But even with that, a singer can... The interval of a fifth feels really different when it's A to E than when it's E to B.
Mm-hmm.
And it also can feel different if that is the fifth of the chord as opposed to the 3 chord. Singers perceive things differently.
Yes.
And so being able to help them understand that musicianship from a singer-centric perspective, or help them understand what kind of thing they're going to need going forward in their area of interest. I think we are in a very powerful position that way. Especially somebody like you, because you're a pianist. Do you agree?
Yeah, that's helpful. I was, feeling at a loss because she's better than me at that style. So I'm like, who am I to tell you? But yeah, these are of course things that I do know and can help her with.
Right. Yes. Because, okay. So, but that was the thing. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Come back, Amy. There you are. Sorry about that. The thing that I read in your email, and we'll end with this, right? But the thing that I read in your email was, I feel like she already knows so much. And what I wanted to say to you, and what I would want to say to anybody who is listening to this, is that you know more. No matter what your student knows, you know more stuff than they do.
I know, it's just not my usual bag of tricks for musical theater that I've had all these years. Yeah.
Yes, right. It's not your automatic go-to regular old stuff that you deal with all the time. It does force you into a space of needing to be a little bit more creative. Mm-hmm. But man, you know a lot. You know a lot. And you know a lot more than her. So, and please remember, you and every other voice professional who is watching this right now, please remember how powerful you are in this person's life. How you are your energy, your presence, knowing that you are in this person's life is an island in her creative soul. You understand things nobody else in her life understands. You hear her in a way nobody else hears her. You quiet your own soul and you listen to her voice, which nobody else does in her life. And when you say something, it carries profound weight. You matter so much to her. Okay? Do you promise me you'll remember?
Yeah, that was wonderful to hear. Yeah. And I know, like, especially at that age, but any that you're so vulnerable singing that if somebody says something bad to you, that would be
Yeah.
devastating for a long time. But yeah, the keeping the positive,
Yeah. Yeah.
that important too.
Yeah. She's lucky to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here with me today, Amy.
Thank you so much.
Well, you're getting some thumbs up. You're getting some love, Amy. Bye-bye.
Bye.